Chris Williams, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm pumped to have you. We were talking about Godzilla. Apparently he's, after this podcast, running off to go buy a Godzilla toy.
Yeah, gonna do ninja training first, in case Godzilla actually shows up, and then we'll go get some toys.
Yeah, if Godzilla shows up, I don't know how much ninja training will actually help.
I don't know. I feel like that ninja parkour stuff might at least help him survive falling debris and stuff. He's gonna be able to navigate his way out of a crazy situation a little faster.
Touche. Fitness and combat always help.
Yep.
So you started your CrossFit journey in 2013 with CrossFit Tracy, and then you ended up buying that gym, I believe in, 2017?
Yeah, 2016, I became half owner, June of that year. And then September of 2016, I bought my partner out. And then January 1st, 2017, we officially became CFT Fitness.
Nice. So you rebranded in 2017. Now, what I wanted to chat with you about was what got you started into CrossFit and fitness in the first place.
So I'd always been around fitness. I had a kind of an interesting relationship with fitness as a kid. I did a little bit. I ended up going to military school in the 8th grade and got into a lot of sports there, right? But there was some mandatory fitness that was required at times that kind of put me off to the whole fitness thing because it was kind of utilized as more of a punishment style than it was like this is good for you type of thing, even though that was the way they were trying to get it across. But, to a 13, 14-year-old kid, it just came off as punishment. So I pretty much stayed away from fitness after high school for a long time. Just that and golf, just had terrible relationships with both because they were both shoved down my throat as a teenager. And I don't know, 2010, I got fed up. I wanted to lose weight, get fit. Got a personal trainer who now is the head coach of my strength and conditioning gym. And we worked with him for a year. And then he finally was like, you need to try out CrossFit. Like, you need to do it. It's like, cool. Not. So I spent like 2 years not doing that and like staying the hell away from that crazy shit. And then 2013, my wife was like, please just go do it. Like, you're in the garage for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like, I hear CrossFit's like 60 minutes. Just like, go do it and get your ass kicked and see if you like it. So I did it. It was right before my 30th birthday. And that's how I got started. So it's kind of preface my whole thing here. Like I kind of stumbled into it by force.
Now, you lost over 100 pounds throughout your journey, and I think you said 80 pounds twice.
Yeah, I've lost at least 80 pounds twice. I've gained it back once. I've lost over 50 pounds 4 times. I'm a glutton for punishment.
What were some of the hurdles that you dealt with through that weight loss journey?
I haven't released this video, but it was kind of epiphany yesterday. I think pitfall wise, I think in the past, I always did it out of anger and hatred for the way I looked, for the way I felt, for a multitude of things. I think a lot of us, I think all of us to a certain degree that do fitness on a regular basis have a bit of narcissism about our looks, right? And a bit of a narcissistic outlook. And I just want to look my best for no other reason than it makes me feel better than the next person. Just putting it out there. I mean, if you're consistent with your fitness, there's probably a little bit of that in there. But for me, I think it was always an anger and a hatred towards, I hated the way I looked. I hated the way I felt like people treated me because I was overweight. I hated the way I felt. Getting up in the morning was painful, things like that. And as you get older, it gets worse and worse and worse. But when I lost this last 80 pounds, what I realized the pitfalls, I did it out of love. I did it because I love my son. I did it because I love my wife. I did it because I wanted to love my life that I had built. And I wanted to be able to fully maximize my enjoyment for that life. But what I realized is one of the pitfalls that I created on this time, even though it was so successful, was I put too much effort and focus into the scale rather than all the other wonderful things that came out of this. Like losing 80 pounds was awesome. What's not awesome is all the money you have to pay in new clothes, and then like you have to give away everything else. Like I have shit that I never wore. I was like instantly no longer able to fit into jeans, things like that. So that's a pitfall. I don't think anybody thinks about. It's like, yeah, it's cool. You better have a nice budget to buy new clothes, because like you lose 30 pounds, man, you are fully in a different clothing size, whether you like it or not.
Oh yeah, you need a whole new wardrobe.
Yeah, unless you want to look like 2003 Eminem with like, a 4X tall tee, like you better get new clothes.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about this. You were talking about how, you kind of have gone through some different phases where you had a different driver kind of pushing you along. And, anger and resentment for that matter are fuels. They're fast burning fuels, right? But they deplete quickly.
Yep.
And they're rarely ever sustainable. So in the beginning of your journey, it's great. They can kind of get the rocket moving. But over time, to your point in these pitfalls, they end up becoming almost like a hindrance, because you're waiting on for the next surge of anger or the next surge of resentment to kind of propel you along. All the while, you have all of these beautiful, awesome reasons in your life that you could really be gathering energy from.
Yep. And it's, the way I kind of feel about it is like, I don't care how much of a bad mood someone's in or how much of a dickhead someone is. No one can stay angry 24 hours a day, 7 days a week forever, right? There's going to be positive moments. Well, what happens when there's a positive moment? You lose all that momentum that anger and resentment pushed you towards.
Sure. Yeah. And you also start to become addicted to it. You become addicted to it in other areas of your life too.
Yeah. You just live with a chip on your shoulder. And what happens when that chip falls off because you succeeded at the thing that pissed you off?
Yeah, precisely.
Your drive and focus is gone.
Now, in addition to this battle with weight loss over the years, you also dealt with Gillian Barr syndrome. Tell the audience what that is, how it came about for you, finding out the diagnosis, and then what were some of the steps you had to take to get out of that.
So Gillian Barr is, just to preface this, it's not something anyone can control. You just get it. Like there's nothing you can do. Gillian Barr has, what I found out recently after we talked the first time, is there's actually multiple different variations of Gillian Barr. And what I had specifically was Miller-Fisher syndrome, which is even more rare because I'm just that lucky, right? I'm just jackpot winner over here. So what it is when you get like a stomach infection virus, like a food poisoning or a stomach flu, or you get an upper respiratory infection, chest infection, or a virus, your body creates all the antibodies to fight it. Sometimes, very rarely, in my case, 1 in 20,000, for Gillian Barr as a whole, 1 in 20,000 people, those antibodies stick around past their welcome and start attacking your nervous system, start attacking the antibodies in your nervous system, which creates not necessarily paralysis, but intense weakness, like wobbly, like I look like a drunken sailor. Like it's, by the 4th or 5th day, I straight up couldn't walk without a ton of assistance. When your arm or leg goes to sleep, you sat in one place, watched a video too long when you're going to the bathroom, and then you get up and go, oh shit, okay. And it feels like there's that like white fuzz that would be on old TVs, and it's just in your body, except all the way up, everywhere. So it's like a tingling sensation throughout your whole body, like your body's waking up from going to sleep, but it never goes away. Motor skills, like touching your nose and trying to touch something else. I was like this. I couldn't even control it at all. So like drinks, feeding myself was really difficult. How to be real, real slow. Almost like think of like a 90-year-old man with like Parkinson's, essentially. So when they were diagnosing me, we couldn't tell anybody anything because I'm sitting in this neurological unit, and they went from spinal fusion surgery, emergency spinal fusion surgery, to spinal stenosis. We're going to have to take a vertebrae out of your back, to ALS, to MS, to what was the last one they said? Potentially Parkinson's. And then one of the doctors just walks in and goes, has anybody thought it might be GBS? Then I'm like, what is that? Because you sound real calm about it. And he's like, it's Guillain-Barré syndrome. You're exhibiting all the things. The problem is by that time I couldn't remember how it started. Like I couldn't remember how the tingling tracked through my body. So I was giving them different answers and like just point to the fitness. I was too strong. So the muscle weakness should be really bad, right? But because I'd been lifting so consistently for a while, my strength was tracking too strong for it to be Gillian Barr. But that doctor was like, no. The guy's like, look at his reports. He's been lifting weights. Like he's strong. Like he's weak for him, but he's not weak compared to like the average person that comes in with it.
How fast was the onset to all this?
Oh, like overnight. I was perfectly healthy on Friday. I woke up in the middle of the night Saturday to go to the bathroom. I was like, oh, that's weird. My legs are a little shaky. And kind of felt like there was tingling in my feet and my hands. I was like, I'm probably just half asleep. Go to bed, wake up. And no, it was there. By the next day, the wobbliness was a little worse. The tingling had moved up. By Monday, the tingling was up into my stomach and up in my arms. By Thursday, I could not walk really at all. And I was in the ER. By that following Monday, they had pumped me full of a bunch of drugs called IgIV, which is immunoglobulin. It's basically good antibodies to go in and clean house. By that Monday or Tuesday, I was back to walking. But there was like a solid 4 days where it was either with a walker or like holding on to something and like shuffling along, grabbing the next thing.
So what did the road to recovery look like for you?
So believe it or not, it was super rapid. Like I went from that Sunday just starting to be able to stand up without help to Monday walking in a walker 1 lap around the area at a time, to Tuesday multiple laps, to Wednesday no walker, a lap or two, to Thursday when I was released I was doing 5-6 laps at a time. I was back to walking like 30 minutes without stopping before I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I gotta sit down now. So the recovery.
Did you feel like you had lost a bunch of strength by the time you were able to get back into the gym?
Yeah, no, I definitely noticed it. So my layoff was probably 3 weeks before I was finally at a point where I was comfortable not using machines to really get a feel for where my strength was back to. The crazy part is the strength didn't really go away. It was like blocked, I guess is the best way.
Like neurologically.
Yeah, it was just neurologically blocked. Like the muscles weren't being eaten. I wasn't actually losing muscle mass. The connection just wasn't there. My muscles weren't firing.
Got it. Well, I'm sure there was a bit of a paradigm shift for you, you know, having gone through that as you got back to full capacity of being able to use your body. You know, how did that scare affect you in the way that you view movement and your ability to move freely?
I mean, it scared the piss out of me. I mean, just the idea that I could just one day have it all stripped away from me without any choice of my own, without it being something that I had any control over in the first place, right? Like this was not due to poor diet, lack of exercise. This is just something that can happen to you regardless of how healthy you are. It can just wipe you off your feet in a day. To me, it woke me up. I'm rucking a ton. I have some really big goals in terms of fitness, in terms of challenges, things that I want to accomplish in my life that I'm not waiting and for the right time to start training for. It built a lot of, I don't want to say immediate action. It's more, I'm not pausing. I'm not putting it off anymore.
Yeah, like you appreciate the fact that things can change in an instance and there's no better time than now.
I'm not too tired anymore.
Fair. Now, you've been obviously part of the fitness industry, both in the way of, you know, someone who's a fitness enthusiast yourself, but also as a gym owner. What are some of the common misconceptions that you see people having around fitness and nutrition?
I think a lot of people, the number one that I get is the magic pill situation. I get a lot of people that just feel like when I pay to go to a gym, like I should just magically fix myself, right? Like going to the gym itself, stepping foot in the gym, I'm going to lose 5 pounds every time I step through the doorway. Like there's some sort of like fat burner in the door, right? When most of us realize to really have significant improvement in our lifestyle, it's the other 23 hours a day that matters. What I've realized is if you use fitness as an anchor, right? Like I worked out today, I can't waste that on shit food. You can have a lot of success, right? But if you're depending on an hour a day in the gym to burn the McDonald's run first thing in the morning on your way to work, the Subway at lunch, and the pizza with the family at dinner, like I hope you're working out between every single meal, right? Like, and then some.
Yeah, there's been a few different, fitness influencers that have kind of done this experiment for the sake of just representation and what it actually takes to burn these calories in comparison to just not consume them. And for instance, they'll do like, the total calories in a Big Mac or in like a Big Mac and the fries and a soda. And they'll say, okay, I'm going to get on the runner and see how long it would take me to accumulate that many. Right. And it's always astounding. It's like, okay, they ran at a moderately aggressive pace for like an hour and 49 minutes to match that. And as we all know, it's not a perfect science on these machines. And that's actually what you're burning.
Yeah. I really like that one guy. He's young. He's got a real deep voice. And he does these challenges where he does like food eating competitions or like matches, some crazy food eating guy's thing, and then runs until he's burned the calories. And I probably live vicariously through him watching him eat that, so I don't have to. But what I've always found interesting is like, God, that's more calories than even I thought it was. Like you see him eat, I don't know, I think he did one that was like Dunkin' Donuts, and he ate like every famous, like known Dunkin' Donuts meal plus like a 6-pack of donuts. And he's like, all right, it's like 1,600 calories, and he has to run like 11 miles.
The thought of having to run with all of that in my stomach alone makes me never want to have to do that. In addition to buying the CrossFit gym, rebranding it, you also started a strength and conditioning facility in 2018.
Yep.
Talk to me about that. What was the motivation behind that? And how does that gym run operationally different from the other?
It's a completely different model. So for one, it's apples and oranges in terms of models. So CrossFit, larger groups, tons of modifications, one workout for everyone that we modify. At our CrossFit gym, we have 3 levels of the workout. But when we initially transitioned over here for a separate model, we were doing the RX and scaled thing over at the CrossFit gym. Over here, it's personalized. So for one, we're on a 900, just under 1,000 square foot training floor. So we had to completely revise how we do things. We're not your normal strength and conditioning gym. That it's even in 3,000 square feet with a ton of strength racks and all the cool shit and a bunch of turf and everything like that. We have the benefit of a really long driveway. So we'll do all the sleds and stuff like that, but we had to buy like the tank ones, the GitRx version of the tank sleds. We're maxed out at 8 kids at a time. 8 kids or adults at a time to make sure that they're getting 100% of what they need. We got 4 squat racks. We get really, really creative with the model. So for us, we have a cap of 80 members. So that ensures that all of our class times can be filled with awesome kids, get 100% of their attention that they need without overloading anything. And obviously it creates a need for a completely different price point than what we would do in a larger group model.
Of course. What was it that made you want to create this in the first place?
Ooh, yeah. So we were approached in 2017 or 2018. I'm a little fuzzy on the timeline. I think it was 2017 to train 2 freshmen in high school that were built like brick houses. And the varsity football coach wanted them ready for varsity as sophomores. So he knew they lacked speed and they lacked strength. Even though they had the size and the frame to take it on, they just, they're 14-year-old kids. So we worked one-on-one with them all summer, getting them ready for football. And they were starters. as sophomores at the biggest high school in the area, 100,000 person town. That word gets around pretty fast. Suddenly you start getting a ton of interest. Next door is a baseball facility. So we're getting interest from them on training some kids. And I had been offered this space 4 or 5 times from my landlord, and I kept turning it down. I'm like, I have no idea what I'd use it for. It's no. And then one day it just hit me. Drew it on a piece of printer paper. Sight unseen, I walked through it maybe 3 or 4 times, drew all this stuff out, Rain Man style, drove down here, opened it up, walked through, and was like, oh, that actually works. And thus the idea for Altamont Performance Lab was born. Ultimately, it was for an opportunity for my head coach, who's still the head coach to this day. He's a CSCS certified coach. He had been a coach at CrossFit for a while. And I knew where his passion really was, which was training kids and strength and conditioning and sports-specific training methodology. So I was like, look, let's move it over here. Let's give you your runway to run with and like fully grow a program. And that's what he's done.
That's amazing, man. Now you currently own the 2 gyms. You have an investment property or properties, and you're managing over 20 employees. And I know that being a family man and a dad is really important to you. How do you manage to balance all of this?
Sheer luck. But, I'm not sure if I'm balancing it as much as I am taking shells, if that makes sense. Like, I know that my focus and priority being on my family is costing me growth in the businesses. No way around it. If I put all my eggs into running the business and I was here at 5 a.m. and I was done at 5 p.m. and I did everything possible, like, we'd be way farther along. But I would have missed the last 5 years of amazing memories. Right?
You would. And I think there's an argument to be made too about the sustainability over the real long term, right? So like zooming out, having that 30,000 foot view, being able to look at your life in its entirety and see, well, what is going to allow this to exist and grow for not just a year at a time, broken into, quarters with 90-day sprint plans, but 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And then, oh, by the way, sustaining all of the relationships in my life that make me happy and want to do this in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, we're in a mastermind together. How many people are divorced, or when they get to the level that we're at, are separated, or are in marriages with poor, relationship health? And it's because they had to sacrifice so much to get their business to this level. I'm fortunate. I've always known I am not an operator, right? I'm a vision guy. I'm a head in the clouds type of guy. So I've always tried to surround myself with operators or people that at least think more operationally and are more organized and just task oriented. But I do realize, like, some of the sacrifices that come from this amount of time I spend as a dad do have an effect on my ability to be the owner, especially of a CrossFit gym that people want. They want me around. Why are you never here at night? Why are you never here in the early mornings? Why, like, even my staff, hey, we need you here more. We need more events. We need more of this. And, it's the constant. This is not an owner operator business. This is an owner and an operator business.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. You were at least fortunate enough to get started in this a little bit later with a little bit more maturity and some foundation in your life. I started my gym at 22, and when I say that I, slept, drank everything, right, as part of being a coach, like it was my life through and through for probably the first 7 years. I was coaching from 5 or 6 a.m. until 8 or 9 p.m., 5 days a week, multiple hours on the weekends, programming, cleaning, taking care of facilities, doing whatever. it was beyond a full-time commitment. It felt like two full-time commitments, but people get used to that, and it's, people want to see you around, like you said. And it's hard because I also want to be there. Like, I genuinely love being at my facility and just forming good relationships and talking with people. I mean, hell, I met my wife there, and a lot of people that were in my wedding and some of my best friends are part of that gym, both members and coaches alike. So stepping away is something that's really difficult because people want to see your face. They want to spend time with you, but life, it requires you to grow as an individual. And as we become, partners, parents, and getting involved in other projects, our time inevitably gets divided, and it's tough.
I completely agree. And that's where I really had to put my foot down and create boundaries around my family's going to come first. My health is going to come first. Those two things get handled before I show up at the office. 99% of the time. I'm up, I'll cold plunge, hit the sauna, walk, get my steps in, take care of my son, get him ready for school, get him out the door. Then I'm ready to go to the office. And if I haven't done one of those things yet, I'm going to do that before I go to the office. All right. And then my office time is down to maybe 4 hours a day. And I got to split up serious focus time, meetings, FaceTime with my direct reports, FaceTime with my staff, just making sure they know I'm around and supporting them. And then like today, after this, I got to fuck off and pick my kid up. So it's like, there is no, sorry, I can stick around for you. I can't.
Yeah, an angle that really helped me with this when I was going through kind of that frustrating phase where people wanted me still in the gym and I was trying to back out was I had someone say to me, like, you staying in your gym is the most selfish thing that you can do, because what you're doing is you're preventing opportunities for other people that want to make this a career. And now with multiple people full time, right? Multiple people making all of their money from the gym, and a whole, other crew of teammates that, contribute in so many positive ways. Like, I know now that this is to them what it was to me when I was younger, and that means the world to me.
Yeah, no, my thing with the gyms is these are platforms for me to create opportunities for people that want to live, eat, and breathe this industry that aren't being given opportunities to be full-time anywhere else. When you look at the fitness industry as a whole, we are trailblazers, as much as people don't want to believe it. Full-time opportunities in the fitness industry used to be buy a gym and make it your full-time opportunity. That was the only way to get a full-time job other than working for a corporate traditional gym where you were going to train people maybe 10% of the time and be a corporate stooge the rest.
Yeah, or you are a personal trainer and you're coaching people 12 hours a day.
Right. And, my goal is I don't want to see people on the floor more than 3 to 4 hours a day. So we have to create other opportunities. Yeah, if you want to do personal training, if you're one of those people that's just a workhorse, do it all day long if that's what feeds you, provides for you. But for us, we try to build full-time opportunities around 3 to 4 hours of coaching, taking on other ancillary services, specialty classes, things along those lines, nutrition, and then if they need to, admin, management, other things. So they're really creating a full-time opportunity.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, we really are in a trailblazing position, because not only does the gym space continually evolve, right? And I'm not just talking about F45s are now popping up, different model. I mean, within our gyms, I've been open now 12 and a half years, and we've had to pivot so many times to both accommodate the wants and needs of the market and also the vision and what we saw, the ways in which we wanted to grow, which, by the way, as we get older and mature and get exposure to other different ideology or methodologies within gyms and ideas, we start to come up with ideas of ways that we can change our facility for the better. So the thought that these things are going to stay stagnant is just not possible.
Right. No, it's really hard to put into words if someone that doesn't understand the ownership of a gym, but you're constantly playing mental gymnastics because you have to stay the course, but at the same time navigate around market changes, fitness trends, Ozempic, and everything else that comes at you on top of. I think it's rare to have staff members that truly understand the role of an owner. They want a full-time gig, but they want you to do all the hard shit. So it's like there's a lot of that push and pull that I can't speak for other industries. I just know in the gym industry, it's a common issue.
Well, a lot of it is, there's not a perfect playbook. Like Two Brain does a great job, but even within the Two Brain ecosystem, there's a million different ways that people have their gyms set up. It's not like there's nothing cookie cutter or like a guaranteed path. Like you really do need to figure out what makes sense for your particular facility.
Yeah.
No doubt. You mentioned that you and I met in a mastermind group, and I know that you are someone that's a strong believer in the kind of the importance of getting into mastermind groups. What is it for you that you find them so impactful?
I think it comes to that whole your circle of influence. So my goal is to always get into rooms where I'm not at the forefront, where I'm like in the middle or even the back, and I'm like, shit, there's a lot of levels to this that I haven't conquered. So it just wakes you up, gives you that wake up call, but B, that motivation, and C, you're literally around these people, seeing how they act, how they talk, how they behave, what their focuses are, how they navigate their days, how they structure their lives. And a lot of my changes, a lot of the things that I've done that have made my life instrumentally better at a massive magnitude have happened since 2022 when I joined that mastermind, because I was able to see other people in my industry who are just like me, how they don't have excuses for the gym. They don't have excuses for eating right. They don't have excuses for growing their business. And it hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, hey, I'm at the very back of this bus right now in terms of my gym owner level. But now I have avatars that I'm going to literally just pace off of and close the gap on.
Yeah, one of the biggest separators for me that I think is misunderstood within the general population, but that is basically an immediate norm inside of a mastermind, is envy evaporates almost immediately, because you realize, one, how unproductive it is, and two, how much the people that are ahead of you actually want to see you win.
Yeah, that's the biggest mind fuck of all of it.
It really is. The people, because I think, CEOs and people in entrepreneur positions at the top often catch a lot of flack because of some really terrible decisions that some larger institutions have made over the years. But especially in the small business space, you realize how genuine everyone is and how much they're really just trying to provide value to the world of people around them. And when you get around those people, you see that any success that they have had has only come by the way of them continuing to get better at problem solving for a subset of people, for a specific avatar, for a specific niche. And you grow a genuine appreciation for that. And you learn like, wow, they're like very, very excellent people, right? They're not out to try to get the world or win one over or like make a bunch of sales despite, their, bad intentions for the people that they're working with. It's like, no, like they want to make a positive impact to the people around them. And they've gotten so good at it that they've made some money and a name for themselves and a reputation. And they're more than willing to help you as you need to be lifted up along the way too.
It's such an interesting dynamic because you always think going in those groups where these people are so far ahead of you, they don't have time for you. They don't want to, commiserate with you, but 99% of us, we remember exactly the feeling of being in someone's shoes that are new to the group, right? It's still fresh. Sure. Those wounds are still fresh.
Well, and I tell my wife all the time, especially when we go away on these trips and I get a chance to network and meet with everybody. I'm like, the presentations are great. The speakers are awesome, but like it's the the food and the beer I'm having with people after the meetups, where we get to dive deep into problems that we're all having and struggles we may be facing and wins that we're experiencing. And really just, again, that's where mastermind gets its ideas. It's a collective of thinking, right? And you get to kind of network and share in that. And it's just a beautiful thing, man. It's growth all around.
Yeah. And that's, that's the thing with these things, when the structures change and the leaders change, you hope that those things that maybe they don't realize, but that we as the attendees realize, is like the real power of this is in the hive and the things we do after. Like, yes, I get a ton of value from the actual event, but it's the networking, it's the deeper level conversations we're able to get into outside of that that's so powerful.
Yeah, and they don't always need to be super organized. I have found myself sitting at dinner with people that I had never spoken to before and ended up forming friendships and, sharing ideas, or having someone give me a nugget of information that has transformed or added value to something inside of my facility, that I wouldn't have expected to receive. So, I agree with you. It is the hive effect.
It's cool. It's really cool. I wish more people would do it.
Yeah. I mean, so outside of growing businesses, like, what are some of the other reasons you believe that people should get into masterminds?
For me, I have a coach for my personal growth. And I think that circle of influence, again, like getting into masterminds, you don't even get into masterminds, just getting a coach. If you feel like your life is stagnating, it's probably stagnating everything else: your work, your career, your family life, as a parent, as a husband or a wife, as a spouse or a partner. Like, if your life is not moving forward, you're probably lacking a lot of purpose. And sometimes you need someone from the outside that can see the whole picture, the whole pie, and go, that's your problem. And it's something that's so close to your face, you can't see it. Right? So it's like, for me, it's not even just the mastermind part, it's the coach. It's having that personal accountability coach, that person that wide view, big, panoramic. Hey, this is your actual problem, but it's too close to you to see for yourself.
Well, yeah. And the surprise that usually hits people is, while they feel like they have a million problems, there's really only one or two things that if they fix them, it'll fix the rest. And having a coach is almost a surefire way to have them point directly at those things and come up with an actionable plan, and then hold you accountable to the plan. And what you thought was going to take you 2 years to fix takes 3 months.
Yep. Yeah. That's flip a switch, essentially, and big jump. Flip a switch, big jump. Suddenly you look back and all those other things you thought were the problem have already been resolved.
One of the things that I have found to be, so uniquely helpful from being part of masterminds, or, as you said, getting personal development coaches, is the way that it breaks my beliefs about certain things. Have you had any belief systems that have been broken by the way of being part of a mastermind or working with a coach?
Oh yeah. First thing I learned going to Anastasia, who's a mentor at Two Brain, was that I 100% was allowed to make money, right? Like, my gym didn't have to be all for the staff. Like, I was allowed to step out and be a CEO and no longer be in the day-to-day and make a good living while paying my staff well. Like, I don't want to say she gave me permission. I think she more kind of like slapped me across the face, like, wake up, stop being so nice. Like, you have to have some boundaries. Like, and she helped me really align a lot of boundaries. And I think the same thing when I leveled up to Tinker, I got slapped in the face with a lot of boundaries for, like, yeah, now you really want to step out. Like, you have to create boundaries. You have to time block. You have to make sure that you're not allowing your staff to bully their way in to these time blocks where you're doing other things. And, like, they have to also understand that, like, they're now sharing their time, your time, with other passions and roles and just different pursuits that you're on.
Yeah, that's one of the difficulties, whether it's staff or it's members. It's people pull at your time a lot. And when you're a giving person, which, to my earlier point is why 99.9% of people get involved in gym ownership, is they're to some degree or another, for better or worse, people pleasers, and they want to help and they want to provide value. So it's hard. Like when you go into your facility and people are tugging on you, like asking questions, want to do this, it's like you have to be intentional about when you're in there to do those sort of things and form relationships and be someone that people can lean on, and when you need to step out and just have some mental clarity and time to yourself.
Yeah, like now that we have APL, we have a conference room here. So all of our meetings happen over here. Because if we tried to do meetings in one of those offices, I guarantee 15 times, if there's classes going on, someone would barge in to say something, right? Like, since we're over here, we're removed, we're out of sight, out of mind. We're actually able to get our work done. When I'm over there, I'm happy to, talk and, just hang out with people, right? But I've made it very conscious. When I step through that door over there at CrossFit, I'm now in social mode. I'm the mayor, as some people might call it. But like when I need to have a real meeting and we need like just dead set time to get projects done, we're over here.
Yeah, this was a struggle point for me because I have always been very close with everyone at my gym, especially my coaches. And to take the gym from what was effectively a hobby to what was essentially a club to then what became a professional strength and conditioning, fitness, CrossFit gym took a lot of boundary setting, took a lot of coaching development, right? Setting expectations, right? Being okay with the fact that not everyone is going to like every decision that you make and living with it. And ultimately understanding that it's for the betterment of everyone long term, right? So while certain decisions might rub people wrong in the immediate aftermath, long term, they'll see why you're doing it, right? And it's having the foresight and the wherewithal to be able to make those hard decisions despite the fact that they're not going to be the most popular.
Yep. No, it's understanding you're going to hurt some feelings. It's understanding that long term, you are going to not have nearly as many friends, right? A lot of good time people. But in the end, your circle is going to be real, real tight, real small. And those are the people that never took it personally, right? They, regardless of what you did or didn't do, they were riding with you. And that's the people that you need to really lean on at all times. The rest, yeah, have a good time with them. You're out. They're good time friends. They're good time people, but they're not that circle of influence you should be concerning their feelings all that much.
Yeah, I feel really grateful at this stage of gym ownership to have such amazing people on my team. People that care, people that have stepped up, people that have learned to be more professional themselves, people who have taken on roles that were over and above what they were capable of originally. It's, it has been a forced growth for everyone.
Yeah, I'm lucky. The way I said that, I'm talking outside, like the staff that's with me that's been through a lot of this, like they're ride or die. Like I love those guys. They're killers. They're the reason I'm able to step out and do all this. But there's a lot of members and just people that aren't a member of the gym anymore that they don't talk to me now that they're not a part of the gym, right? It's pretty obvious where we were at then and where we're at now. And so I just don't take it personally when people get upset with decisions we make, because I try to make decisions again from a very, I'm looking at the whole pie here and trying to make sure everybody's taken care of. But ultimately, my staff, myself and my staff get taken care of first, and then everything else is secondary to that. And members and people might not like hearing that, but that's how real professional businesses have to be run. So for me,
well, and if you want to have some insight as to how awful a gym is that has constant coaching turnover, it's like just go to a gym that can't hold coaches more than a couple months at a time and see how you enjoy your experience.
Yeah.
And keeping good coaches takes time, money, effort, energy, purpose.
Time, it takes development, it takes patience, and it takes money. So like you love the coaches, but you hate how much you're paying. You know, they kind of got to go hand in hand.
Now, we spoke about masterminds, and obviously you had a kind of we were kind of speaking in the category of growth in business, and there was some self-development in there. But, obviously there's a lot of room for people to get involved in groups like a gym, to kind of expose themselves to some new positive people in their lives. Like, what advice do you have for people who might be struggling to get around other people that can help them grow and develop?
I've always said, if you're new to an area or you want to get social, create more social life, go to a CrossFit gym. Just go to your local CrossFit gym. If there's more than one, peep them all out, get a feel for the one that feels like it has the right vibe for you. Join that thing. I promise you, your fitness will be elevated. Your self-esteem will grow immediately, just because people there will lift you up. You won't even realize it, but they are your biggest supporters and fans in a community standpoint. You're going to learn where every great coffee shop is. You're going to learn where every great restaurant is. There's so many things that are going to happen. Now, if you're a business person looking to grow in business, I guarantee you there's a mastermind or a small group or a fellowship or any other word association you can call it, either on the internet or in your local area, where you can find like-minded people that are dealing with the same things. They're in the same trenches as you, that can empathize with what you're going through and potentially offer assistance or some sort of mentoring or coaching on whatever situations you're going through, because they've been there, done that. And that's the value of it. If you're sitting here feeling like you're alone in this, it's because you haven't found those like-minded people. As I call them, my people. I found my people with our mastermind, and I found my people on a personal level with a different mastermind. So, I know if I'm struggling with something in the gym business, I know exactly where I can go for support, empathy, and ultimately actions that I could potentially take depending on the situation.
I love it, dude. That's great advice. Well, Chris, thanks so much for coming on, man. I know we were trying to get this planned for a little bit, but I'm really glad we made it happen.
Oh yeah, man, that was great. I had a blast.
Tell everyone where they can learn more about you.
So you can find me on Instagram at Lock34. You can find me on YouTube. I have a podcast called The Morning Dig. It's a 5-minute inspirational podcast that I drop every Monday at 5 a.m. Pacific time. That's at The Balanced CEO. And then Facebook is just Chris Williams.
I love it, man. Hey, thanks again for hopping on.
Thanks, dude.